Hello, believers, non-believers, and everyone in between. You're listening to Stories with Sapphire. I am Sapphire Sandalo. Now get cozy and open your mind because it's story time.
Hello, welcome to the Vibe Stream. Now I'm on the YouTube. I am simultaneously streaming on Instagram Live right now, telling people to come on over. But yes, welcome to the Thursday live stream. I do this every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I read some spooky stories set to cool, chill, spooky music. My husband wrote some lo-fi music that's spooky, but you can't hear it on the Instagram. You have to hear it on the YouTube. So head on over youtube.com/Sapphire Sandalo. And now, how do I end it? Hop on over. Yes, I want to end the video. I don't want to share. Okay. Lola's here with me today. She hopped on my lap right before I started, so she will be joining me. Let me know if the audio is okay. I turned on my lights for this stream. Thought I'd get in the Christmas spirit. So audio is okay and everything. Oopsies, am I doing it the wrong way? Okay. Christina P, Just a Random Name, Ralph Kaiser L, Kabatic, Luna Angel, Noi 4290, Zyra Macon, Megan Brand, Super ASMR, Black Yoshi, Aesthetic Wasteland, Baco News, Clowny Studios, Cringe Edits, Ocean Vibes. Welcome to the screen. Scream? Ooh, that's kind of cute vibe, Scream. All right, everyone. The audio's a little low. Okay. I think it's because I need it needs to be like right here in my mouth. Okay. So, scary stories to tell in the dark. Y'all ready for your first story? Here we go. Ooh, this one's called The Bride. Are you okay, baby? Aww. Lola. Lola, say hi. Say hi to the people. No, she's too small. Can't see her. All right, ready? You guys may or may not have heard this one before, because I did a something scary episode that was loosely based on this one. The minister's daughter had just gotten married. After the wedding ceremony, there was a great feast with music and dancing and contests and games, even old children's games. When they got to playing hide and seek, the bride decided to hide in her grandfather's trunk up in the attic. They'll never find me there, she thought. As she was climbing into the trunk, the lid came down and cracked her on the head, and she fell unconscious inside. The lid slammed shut and locked. No one will ever know how long she called for help or how hard she struggled to free herself from that tomb. Everyone in the village searched for her, and they looked almost everywhere, but no one thought of looking in the trunk. After a week, her brand new bridegroom and all the others gave her up for lost. Years later, a maid went up into the attic looking for something she needed. Maybe it's in the trunk, she thought. She opened it and screamed. There lay the missing bride in her wedding dress, but by then, she was only a skeleton. Ooh, spooky. Sorry, my nose is running. I want you to see Lola, but she's like not being camera friendly. Hang on. Lola. Hey, you wanna see stories? She's sniffing the microphone. There you go, look. There she is. There's my Umi. Hold on. She's being camera shy. There you go. Okay. Let me reach over. Here we go. This next one's called Rings on Her Fingers. Here's another picture. Daisy Clark had been in a coma for more than a month when the doctor said that she had finally died. She was buried on a cool summer day in a small cemetery about a mile from her home. May she always rest in such peace, her husband said. But she didn't. Late that night, a grave robber with a shovel and a lantern began to dig her up. Since the ground was still soft, he quickly reached the coffin and got it open. His hunch was right. Daisy had been buried wearing 2 valuable rings, a wedding ring with a diamond in it, and a ring with a ruby that glowed as if it were alive. The thief got down on his knees and reached into the coffin to get the rings, but they were stuck fast on her fingers. So he decided that the only way to get them was to cut off her fingers with a knife. But when he cut into the finger with the wedding ring, it began to bleed, and Daisy Clark began to stir. Suddenly, she sat up. Terrified, the thief scrambled to his feet. He accidentally kicked over the lantern, and the light went out. He could hear Daisy climb out of her grave. As she moved past him in the dark, he stood there, frozen with fear, clutching the knife in his hand. When Daisy saw him, she pulled her shroud around her and asked, "Who are you?" When the grave robber heard this corpse speak, he ran. Daisy shrugged her shoulders and walked on, and never once looked back. But in his fear and confusion, the thief fled in the wrong direction. He pitched headlong into her grave, fell on the knife, and stabbed himself. While Daisy walked home, the thief bled to death. Ooh, I like that one. That one's fun. It actually makes sense and had a cool ending. Oh, baby girl. Why are you trying to run away from me? Baby doll. There she is. She does not want to be seen right now. Okay. Okay. Sorry, y'all. One second. Sorry, 1 second. Okay. Ready for the next story? I want Lola to be... It's okay. You guys ever wonder if dogs understand the concept of camera shy? Like, this whole time, we shove cameras in their face, put them on videos and stuff, but what if it's like... What if they, understand what's happening? And they're like, we don't like it. Wouldn't that be weird? Okay. Ooh, okay. If you were a something scary person back in the day when I was doing it still, you might remember this one. This is when I did one that was loosely based on this. The composition of the screen is so silly because I'm trying to get Lola in here and she's being a poopy head. That's okay. Okay, then I understand you don't want to be in it. It's fine. That's okay. Once there were 2 sisters. Dolores was 7 and Sandra was 5. They lived in a small house in the country with their mother and their baby brother, Arthur. Their father was a seaman who was away on a long voyage. One day, Dolores and Sandra were running across a field near their house when they met a gypsy girl playing a drum. Her family was camping in the field for a few days. Oh, I've recently been told that gypsy is not the proper word to use, so I'm gonna just take that out. Sorry. As the girl played, a little mechanical man and woman came out of the drum and danced. Dolores and Sandra had never seen such a drum, and they begged the girl to give it to them. She looked at them and laughed. I will give it to you, she said, but only if you are really bad. Come back tomorrow and tell me how bad you were, and I will see. As soon as the two sisters got home, they started shouting, which was against the rules in their house. Then they wrote all over the walls with their crayons. At supper, they spilled their food, and when it was time for bed, they wouldn't go. They did everything they could think of to upset their mother. They were really bad. I love it says that. They were really bad. Early the next morning, they hurried off. They hurried off to find the girl. We were really bad yesterday, they told her, so please give us the drum. But when they told her what they had done, the girl laughed. Oh, you must be much worse than that if I am to give you the drum, she said. As soon as Dolores and Sandra got home, they pulled up all the flowers in the garden. They let the pig out and chased it away. They tore their clothes. They sloshed in the mud. They were a lot worse than the day before. If you do not stop, their mother said, I will go away and take Arthur with me, and you will get a new mother with a glass eye and a wooden tail. That scared Dolores and Sandra. They loved their mother, and they loved Arthur. They could not imagine being without them, and they began to cry. I don't want to leave you, their mother said. Oh, I don't want to leave you, their mother said, but unless you change your behavior, I will have to leave you. We'll be good, the girls promised. Yet they did not really believe that their mother would go away. She's just trying to scare us, Dolores said later. We'll get the drum tomorrow, said Sandra. Then we'll be good again. Early the next morning, they rushed off to find the girl. When they found her, she was playing the drum again, and the little man and woman were dancing. They told the girl how bad they had been the day before. That must be bad enough to get the drum, they said. Oh, no, said the girl. You must be much worse than that. But we promised our mother to be good from now on, said the girls. If you really want the drum, said the girl, you must be much worse. It's only for one more day, Dolores told Sandra. Then we will have the drum. I hope you're right, Sandra said. As soon as they got home, they beat the dog with a stick. I don't like that. They broke the dishes. They tore their clothes to pieces. They spanked their baby brother, Arthur. Their mother began to cry. You are not keeping your promise, she said. We will be good, said Dolores. We promise, said Sandra. I can't wait much longer, said their mother. Please try. Early the next morning, before their mother was awake, Dolores and Sandra ran to see the girl. They told her all about the bad things they had done the day before. We were horrid, said Sandra. We were worse than we have ever been, said Dolores. Can we have the drum now, please? No, said the girl. I never meant to give it to you. It was just a game we were playing. I thought you knew that. Dolores and Sandra began to cry. They rushed home as quickly as they could, but their mother and Arthur were gone. They're out shopping, said Dolores. They'll be back soon. But they were still not back when time for lunch came. Dolores and Sandra felt lonely and scared. They wandered through the fields the rest of the day. Maybe they will be home when we get back, said Dolores. When they got home, they saw through the window that the lamps were lit and there was a fire in the fireplace, but they did not see their mother and Arthur. Instead, there was their new mother, her glass eyes glistening, her wooden tail thumping on the floor. Oh, that's it? So weird. I like the version that I made better. It's just like so random. Like nothing like ties in together with anything. Do you know what I mean? It all feels just like what? Anyways, I can't be picking apart these. What is this, written in the 80s or something? All right, here we go. The window. Margaret and her brothers, Paul and David, shared a small house on top of a hill just outside the village. It was so warm one summer's night that Margaret could not sleep. She sat up in bed in the darkness of her room, watching the moon move across the sky. Suddenly, something caught her eye. She saw two small yellow-green lights moving through the woods near the graveyard at the bottom of the hill. They looked like the eyes of some animal, but she could not make out what kind of a creature it was. Soon, the creature left the woods and moved up the hill toward the house. For a few minutes, Margaret lost sight of it. Then she saw it coming across the lawn toward her window. It looked something like a man, and yet it didn't. Margaret was terrified. She wanted to run from her room, but the door was next to her window. She was afraid the creature would see her and break in before she could escape. When the creature turned and moved in another direction, Margaret rushed through the door, but before she could open it, it was back. Margaret found herself staring through the window at a shrunken face like that of a mummy. Its yellow-green eyes gleamed like a cat's eyes. She wanted to scream, but she was so frightened that she could not make a sound. The creature broke the window glass, unlocked the window, and crawled inside. Margaret tried to flee, but the creature caught her. It twisted its long, bony fingers into her hair, pulled back her head, and sank its teeth into her throat. Margaret screamed and fainted. When her brothers heard her piercing scream, they rushed to her room. But by the time they got the door unlocked, the creature had fled. Margaret lay on the floor bleeding and unconscious. While Paul tried to stop the bleeding, David chased the creature down the hill toward the graveyard, but soon he lost sight of it. The police thought it was the work of an escaped lunatic who believed he was a vampire. When Margaret recovered, her brothers wanted to move to a safer place where it would be harder to break in. But Margaret refused. The creature would never come back. She was sure of that. But just in case, Paul and David began to keep loaded pistols in their rooms. One night, months later, Margaret was awakened by a scratching sound at the window. When she opened her eyes, there was the same shrunken face staring in at her. That night, her brothers heard her cries in time. They chased the creature down the hill, and David shot it in the leg. But the creature managed to scramble over the graveyard wall and disappeared near an old burial vault. The next day, Margaret and her brothers watched as the sexton of the church opened the burial vault. Inside was a horrifying scene. Broken coffins, bones, and rotting flesh were scattered all over the floor. Only one coffin had not been disturbed. When the sexton opened it, there lay the creature with the shrunken face that had attacked Margaret. The telltale bullet was in its leg. They did the only thing they knew of to rid themselves of a vampire. The sexton built a roaring blaze outside the vault and fed the shrunken body to the flames. They watched the body burn until nothing remained but ashes. I don't know what a sexton is. Is that a type of position in the church? I've literally never heard that in my life. Oh, this one looks gross. Wonderful sausage. There's a visual for you. Okay. Ready for your next one? Here we go. Wonderful sausage. Actually, make it water first. One dark, rainy Saturday afternoon, a fat and jolly butcher named Samuel Blunt had an argument over money with his wife, Eloise. Blunt lost his temper and killed Eloise. Then he ground her up into sausage meat and buried her bones under a big flat rock in the backyard. To keep the murder a secret, he told everyone that she had moved away. Okay. Blunt mixed his new sausage meat with pork, then seasoned it with salt and pepper, added some sage and thyme and a bit of garlic. To give it a special flavor, he smoked it in his smokehouse for a while. He called it Blunt's Special Sausage. There was such a demand for this new sausage that Blunt bought the best hogs he could find and started raising his own pork. He also kept a sharp lookout for humans who might make a tasty sausage meat. One day, a nice, plump school teacher came into his shop. Blunt grabbed her and ground her up. What? Another time, Blunt's dentist came by. He was a little round man, and into the grinder he went. Then, one by one, the children in the neighborhood began to disappear, and so did their kittens and puppies. But no one ever dreamed that Blunt the butcher had anything to do with it. Things went on that way for years. Then, one day, Blunt made a big mistake. A fat boy came into the butcher shop. Blunt grabbed him and started to drag him off to the sausage grinder. But the boy broke loose and ran out of the shop, and Blunt chased after him, waving a big butcher knife. When people saw this, they realized at once what had become of all the missing children and grown-ups and kittens and puppies. An angry crowd gathered at the butcher shop. No one knows for sure just what happened to Blunt that day. Some say he was fed to his hogs. Others say he was fed to his sausage grinder, but he was never seen again, and neither was his wonderful sausage meat. Ew. Gross. Also, didn't they see Sweeney Todd? Like, obviously, it's always the butcher. It's always the person making weird meat stuff. They're the murder, always. Let me check the chat real quick. A sexton takes care of the upkeep of a church. It's a position that you often find in Episcopal churches. Thank you. That's why I've probably never heard of that, because I am not Episcopalian. Does anyone know why she left snarled? I actually have a video that explains it on my channel. So if you search for life after something scary, you'll see. Thank you. All right, this one's called the cat's paw. I think we'll make this our last one. All right, here we go. Somebody was stealing the meat. Oh, meat again. Somebody was stealing the meat Jed Smith kept in his smokehouse. Every day, a ham or some bacon or something else was missing. Finally, Jed decided he had to put a stop to it. One night, he hid in the smokehouse with his rifle and waited for the thief. He didn't have to wait long, for soon a black she-cat slunk in. She was the biggest cat Jed had ever seen. When she jumped up and pulled down a ham hanging from the ceiling, Jed grabbed his rifle and turned on the lights. But instead of running away, the cat jumped at him. He fired and shot off one of her paws. Jed was sure he heard a woman scream right after his gun went off. The cat began tearing around the room, spitting and yowling. Then she ran up the chimney and was gone. Jed stared at the cat's paw. Only it wasn't a cat's paw anymore. A woman's foot lay wriggling on the floor, all shot up and bloody. So it's a witch that's been doing it, he told himself. Just then, one of Jed's neighbors, a fellow named Burdick, came racing down the road to get to a doctor. His wife's foot had been shot in an accident, he told Jed. She's bleeding pretty bad, he said. The doctor got to her barely in time. People who were there when it happened said that she was spitting and yowling, just like a cat. Kind of funny. Again, I would have written it a little differently, but that's just me. Or actually, no, there's one more short one. This will be the last one, okay? This is called The Voice. Ellen had just fallen asleep when she heard a strange voice. Ellen, it whispered, I'm coming up the stairs. I am on the first step. Now, I'm on the second step. Ellen got scared and called her parents, but they didn't hear her, and they didn't come. Then the voice whispered, Ellen, I'm on the top step. Now, I'm in the hall. Now, I'm outside your room. Then it whispered, I'm standing right next to your bed. And then, I've got you! Ellen screamed and the voice stopped. Her father rushed into the room and turned on the light. Somebody is in here, Ellen said. They looked and looked. Nobody was there. All right, we did it. Let me mark that page. Back to the bookshelf you go. All right, everyone. That was our vibe stream. Lola joined for a little bit, and now she is over it. I believe I'll still be streaming next week. The week after, maybe not. But just follow me on Instagram. I post updates on there all the time. And also look at the community tab. And I will see you all soon. Bye. Have a good night.